Where are you at vis-a-vis recovery?
Well, I'm really tired. I feel like maybe there should be a day of respite in between con and work, and I did not have that this time. So
I think for most people it's called traveling home on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
And I think most other people who are more intimately involved in the con do take Monday off of work.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
This voice, this golden voice never takes a day off, though.
No.
Which is why it has to sort of...
No rest for the wicked.
Yeah, you talk so much and you lose your voice and you still have to talk some more, and it's like it's like a 7-Eleven, right? They're open 24 hours.
Right.
Well, they put locks on the doors.
Good question.
So you have to clean and do maintenance and install that rack for the sandwiches, all while we're still open.
Right.
And so that's what's going on with this.
Yeah, I'm definitely tired today. I'm feeling it. No con crud, which is good.
Is that what this is?
I hope not.
The dreaded con crud?
I hope it's not con crud.
Shook a lot of hands. Shook a lot of hands. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I should have worn gloves like Kristen Bell.
Oh my gosh. Does she wear gloves?
I saw a video of her swimming.
Okay.
And she wears gloves when she swims.
What kind of gloves? Like goes up to your elbow gloves?
They look... No, I mean, not like evening wear gloves.
Right.
They look kind of like, washing the dishes gloves.
Really?
Only they have like a little, quarterback glove, a football glove texture on the fingers.
Oh, okay.
And, okay, first of all, confession. I was on BuzzFeed. This is where I saw this.
Sure.
So don't judge me. And they were like, oh, it's so cute. And I'm like, that's weird. And the reason is that she doesn't like her fingers to get pruny. Now, I believe it was to you years ago, I said that, gosh, I sure love that Kristen Bell. I love Veronica Mars. She's great in Frozen. But that is a Jenga tower, which is laser calibrated in terms of the way that everything's put together, and if one brick goes out slightly, who knows what's going to happen. and the proof was that the sloth video. Remember when they played the video on Ellen about her husband was going to show her a sloth or something, and she lost it.
Yep.
And yeah, that's a machine that runs on calibration and control.
Yeah.
Like she's somebody who needs to be in complete control of everything that's going on at every second.
Type A for sure.
And honestly, I can sympathize. I think we're very similar. I think we can detect each other. But anyway, yeah, that's the kind of person who would wear gloves in a pool so they didn't get wrinkly fingers.
How does that work, though?
They're sealed up. It's a wetsuit for your, a dry suit for your fingers.
Okay, they must be different than the gloves that you do dishes with, because I swear when the gloves
no,
you
they
do
don't
dishes
have
with,
slack. Yeah, and the water gets up around the sides.
Yeah, and you get pruny anyway.
Yeah, no, not for this girl.
Okay.
Only the best.
All right.
What show? What is this? Just enough rating celebrities' quirks.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called. No, it's called the Just Enough Trope Podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And we're here to bring you a wrap-up of CONvergence 2018.
That's right.
As if our little shows from the con floor weren't enough, this is the live-on-tape sort of wrap-up of the year of 2018 at CONvergence Natural 20.
That's right.
Which I took to mean role-playing.
That's
games.
what I took to mean as
also,
well.
of course, the 20th anniversary.
Right.
20 years of CONvergence, and really sort of celebrating everything. Every single year so far. And what a perfect time to think about the future.
Yes.
As if you were in the movie Batman from 1989. I've seen the future.
Yeah.
And it will be downtown.
That's right.
We can talk about that in a little bit. Other than the long, drawn-out bit of information you've already given us, how are you?
I'm surviving. I think it was a good year at con. I had a lot of fun. Worked hard as well. But I think it was a productive year.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk a little more later. You didn't have to give it all out now, but Yeah, it was productive. This is the first year, I think, that I worked more than I had fun.
That's not a good thing.
Well, it depends on, what you're there for.
Yeah.
And it depends on what you want to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And ever since we started this little thing of ours, con has been something, it's been a business event, and it's also been a vacation.
Right.
And this is the year that it was way more business than it was vacation. Mm-hmm. And the business side is fun too.
Right.
But you look up and it's 6 p.m. on Sunday and you're like, whoa, where did the time go?
Right.
Did I get to do all the things? Did I get to do any of the things that I thought I would have wanted to do? Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. We're going to have to think about it. Next year will be new for us too.
Yes.
Because we're either going to have to really lean into the business side or try to back off and have some more fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't have to have a business meeting on the air right now, but that's just what I'm suggesting, because I don't know how I feel about this. I know what I do feel good about, though, and that is the great conversations that we had with people and the content that we reaped from the work that we did on the business side, and we are bringing all that content to the listeners.
Right.
And we're starting this week with some interviews and some talks that we had from the show, and this is a feature that traditionally we let it run to the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So every week we're going to come back with more interviews with guests that we talked to at the show, and some sort of impressions about this and that. I thought this week we'd kind of focus on the comics side.
Okay.
I will do news in a little bit, as we
Sure.
usually do. And then in a little bit after that, we'll be talking to James Kakalios.
Okay.
Dr. Kakalios is a professor, instructor. How do they prefer to be called?
Probably professor.
Teacher at the U of M in physics. But he's also a super nerd. Mm-hmm. Yes, he is a level 18 nerd, especially when it comes to comic books. And he has given a talk at CONvergence 2018 about the physics of the Infinity Stones, which we can talk about when we get to that segment. And also, we talked with him, did an interview about similar subjects.
Right.
We talked to him last year as well. Mm-hmm. He's got a couple books we'll talk about in a little bit. And then we did I modded the Infinity War panel.
Yes.
This year, which is kind of becoming something of a tradition.
Yes.
Because I did the Avengers 1 2 years ago. And like 2 years ago, I decided to do a little crowd work before the panel, which I really enjoyed doing. And the question 2 years ago was, Cap or Iron Man?
Right.
The question this year was Thanos right? Mm-hmm. Give me a yes or no. And so we've got a little Geek on the Street live audio from that event. And that is just about it. Maybe we'll give a few impressions of some of the cool costumes we've seen. I'll tell you one thing about my life right now.
Yeah.
There are 100% less people in cat ears
Yes.
in my life right now. Or some of the other amazing costumes that there was at the con. City Pages did their sort of yearly, we sent somebody out with a camera.
Right.
And I wish that they'd take it seriously and write an article, because this would have been a real good year to write an article about it. And we can talk about that in a little bit too. But I think first we will stick to tradition and do the news. If I make it the whole way.
You will.
I may not get there with you, but I'm going to the mountaintop. And you might have to do it for me.
Okay.
Let's get to the news here. I wanted to talk really fast about, of course, the big Marvel release that was this weekend, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes.
Which came out. It actually debuted. It was number one at the box office. It debuted a little bit below expectation. It was $76 million. I think they were shooting for the $85 million range. I think when you say 85 or 95 or go to a 5, you're stretching. You wanted 90, but you're like, I don't think this is going to make 90, so 85?
Right.
When 80 is probably more realistic. And this didn't quite make 80, so nobody can tell if it's a failure or not. It was number one. It did more money than the first Ant-Man did, I think, internationally or total globally. Okay. And so, I mean, what do you want?
It's an improvement.
Right? Yeah. But for a July 4th weekend blockbuster from a major studio, Disney, which is running the table everywhere else, is this a solo?
I don't know. Good question.
I don't know either. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good thing that it did better than the original movie, because that speaks highly of it. I think it's good that it was number one.
Right.
It's too bad it missed what they were hoping for, but Disney has so many irons in the fire. It's hard to really get super disheartened about when something doesn't quite do as well.
That's the conventional wisdom, but Hollywood is anything but conventional. It's, you might say, unconventional.
True.
And they view each one of these things as, its own event. There's no way, you can't just, this isn't the land before time here. You can't do number 18 and just, hope to sneak out some money on video. Like every one of these things is the next big thing. And I agree with you that I think that people just wander into a movie, especially now, if things like MoviePass and all the competitors that are being ginned up to MoviePass, people just wander into a movie.
Yeah.
There are things that like The Incredibles is the most successful animated film of all time. And it just came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And it was great, but I don't think people are really like pissing themselves over it. We already kind of stopped talking about it.
Yep.
So that movie could make a ton of money and not have a ton of buzz, except, go see it. It's the next Incredibles. So that's fine. But this is like, we took this property, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2 people nobody knew anything about.
Yeah.
Plus, it's not like, where's Bucky now? Like, they're the kind of comedy joke characters. They're side characters. And the fact that it scared up almost $80 million on July 4th, beating everything else, that's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good.
Well, somebody get to Disney and Kevin Feige and tell him it's okay.
I know. I mean, do you think this coming after Infinity War, do you think this hurt this film?
Possibly.
Or do you think this film was always going to do about what it did?
It's possible. I mean, I always wonder these days, maybe I'm not like plugged in enough or like talking on the street. Maybe I should do some more Geek on the Street type stuff. But I didn't know if anybody was going to come to the Infinity War panel because it came out and it came out fairly early, in the year for a tentpole. Everybody loved it. It was very controversial. But then I haven't heard anybody really talk about it, except they're doing this thing on Reddit now where they're going to ban half the users on the Thanos was right Reddit page or whatever.
Oh, boy.
Good one, guys. Nice joke. But other than that, I haven't seen, like, a lot of people I know aren't still talking about it. And so I thought, well, this, but no, it was, there's 200 people there. It was, like, totally full.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen it.
No, we haven't.
But that's extenuating circumstances.
Yes. We were conning.
I wouldn't have
all
to talk
weekend.
during it. Oh, we should definitely see it.
Yeah.
Well, a couple more Marvel movie blurbs here as far as the news goes. Something that we, I think, had speculated on, but we now know will be true, is that Samuel L. Jackson will be de-aged in Captain Marvel to fit the 90s sort of setting of the film.
Sure.
Going along in the same vein as de-aging Michael Douglas, which I haven't seen the film, but I know they do again in Ant-Man and the Wasp, as they did in the first one, making, what was it, some YouTube videos, like making 70-year-old Michael Douglas look like 60-year-old
Michael Douglas. Yes.
Woo. And of course, like Michael Douglas, there is plenty of photo reference for the tech wizards to work with, so it shouldn't be tough at all to de-age Samuel L. Jackson. Plus, looks great.
He does.
So it's not a lot of work they have to do.
I was going to say, what are they really going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It remains to be seen if they will age Brie Larson up for her appearance in Avengers 4.
Good point. Or are they going to say she's got like superpower juice, so she doesn't really age that much?
Where do you get that superpower juice? And what flavors does it come in?
It depends. She got hers from an alien.
No,
so.
for a lady, you don't have to. You just pull her hair back real tight. Not a lot, but a little, maybe a little less concealer or just a little shadow under the eye, to make it just a tiny bit sunken, but still flawless, dewy, and have her not smile a lot. And she's got that part down, so I think they'll be okay. We won't get into that. And then another Marvel movie news bit. This is actually on the Sony side, but still Marvel. It looks like the Into the Spider-Verse film is trucking our way. It's supposed to come out this Christmas.
All right.
And we now know that Spider-Man Noir will be voiced by Nicolas Cage.
What? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Can you tell me what Spider-Man Noir is?
So Into the Spider-Verse, I'm guessing, will be just, it will involve the Spider-Verse.
Right.
Which is a meeting, conflagration, wrong word, conurbation, also wrong word,
Congregation.
That's the one. I don't know why my brain doesn't work if my voice doesn't. Of all the Spider-Men from alternate realities.
Sure.
We're Marvel. DC's got all these different worlds, but we're Marvel.
Right.
Also, there's like a million Spider-Men for some reason. And so we've already seen that Peter and Miles will be in it. I think Miles will be the ostensible protagonist, but
right.
Peter will also be in the film. And it looks like he'll be meeting some other people. We've seen Spider-Gwen in a trailer.
Yep.
It looks like Spider-Man Noir is going to be there. I'd have to imagine you're shooting yourself in the hoof if you don't have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham, in it. And so it'll be that kind of thing. And Spider-Man Noir is, can't remember who came up with it. I think it's a little style over substance myself, but it's sort of like steampunk Spider-Man.
Okay.
So he comes from either a universe that's still in the 30s or a universe where Art Deco survived into the 21st century.
Sure.
And it's kind of like Batman the Animated Series Spider-Man, basically.
Okay.
So he wears a leather coat like the Rocketeer, and he's got guns and goggles and that sort of thing.
Okay. So does he have a helmet like the Rocketeer?
His spider hat or mask might be a helmet.
Okay.
You know the Rocketeer?
Yeah, I know the Rocketeer.
Well, if you do, you're supposed to go, the Rock who? So anyway, I don't know what Nicolas Cage could bring to that.
I don't know.
Because you kind of think that like the noir guy would be like, yeah, careful, I'm Spider-Man or something like that. And not like, not the bees! I'm fighting Swarm!
He's going to be super
Spider-Man
dramatic.
enemy Swarm! And the bees!
Right?
No, Spider-Man Noir. We're not going to steal the Declaration of Independence. We don't need that. Something along those lines. Who knows? Want to talk about a Star Wars property, which is Marvel adjacent?
Sure.
Looks like rumors say that actress Kerry Russell could be cast in Episode 9 in a, get this, action-heavy role.
Yeah, I heard about this.
We get it. Variety, or wherever the story comes from. Isn't every role in Star Wars an action? Jar Jar had an action-heavy role.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah. So that doesn't tell us anything.
If you don't have an action-heavy role, you're part of the Senate. So, and we all know how boring that is.
Which is just one person.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Senate.
You're absolutely right.
Yes. So, thoughts?
I'm not crazy about her, but apparently she's a thing. So, yeah. I was never really into Felicity. She, The Americans is really big. I think we watched some of the first season of that, and it kind of, I don't know. It was interesting for a while, but then I think the premise kind of played itself out. But I guess that's not really her fault.
Yeah, this is kind of a review of The Americans for you, season 1, huh?
So I don't know.
No real opinion.
I guess she could.
I don't have an opinion either. I never watched Felicity. I never watched The Americans, really. Was she in some films or something? Anyway, the point is, I don't know anything about her, but she is, by all accounts, a very capable actress. Mm-hmm. And so my problem with this is that, and we're careful, Star Wars talk.
Right.
What's the Death Star alarm sound or the whatever it is? We've had the Force Awakens. It's too much like
right.
We've got Last Jedi. What are you doing? It's crazy. Purple hair.
Right.
Then we don't know what the 9th movie is yet, but we know that J.J. Abrams is back.
Yes.
So the people who didn't like Jedi could take solace in the fact that we're going to go back to J.J. stuff.
Right.
People who didn't like 7 can get pissed off because it's not going to go in this exciting new direction. It just looks like lose-lose.
Right. Uh-huh.
And the exclamation point on the lose-lose for me is him casting his pal Kerry Russell. It doesn't seem like it isn't like we looked at 6,000 actresses, and when unknown Daisy Ridley walked in, mm-hmm. we knew right away this is it.
Right.
This is the woman that's going to take us to a new generation of Star Wars. And so far, they were right. Like, they nailed it at 100%. Mm-hmm. This just feels like JJ scrambling to me. It's like, yeah, whatever. He's already working on something. What's Carrie up to? Yeah, get her. Get Greg Grunberg in a bigger role back in here. The guy that played Ben on Felicity. What's going on with him?
Right. He just went back to his Rolodeck and was like,
right. Holdo's dead, so get Jennifer Garner to play the green-haired lady that'll piss fans off in the next one.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he just cast it, it's a couple. What's Matthew Fox up to? Problematic. Very problematic.
Oh my God.
Careful. And it was just like that. Then you'd be like, ooh, this is bad news. And I think this is the beginning of bad news. But it just seems to be all bad news with Star Wars.
I want to be excited about these films, but I think you've made the point before that there's going to be so many more of these films. Like, they're going to be coming out like every 2 years or so.
Yeah, and they don't all have to be good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I don't want them to be bad. I don't want to hate Star Wars, you know?
Well, don't hate it then. I didn't like Last Jedi, but there's going to be another one. Whatever.
Yeah, I enjoyed
people
Solo.
Are losing their minds, and I don't. Yeah, I liked Solo too. Yeah, I don't know. We don't want to start a whole Star Wars thing here, but wrap it up.
It just doesn't look good. It's like you shake the magic 8 ball, and Outlook does not look good.
Right, and it's just a stick guy going,
yeah,
like shrugging.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Speaking of toxic fandom, it looks like Netflix is taking away movie reviews.
What?
They will not let people review films. Now, 98% of people who use Netflix do it on a device, on a gaming console, or on their phones or whatever. So you never even see reviews anyway.
I guess you don't.
They really only exist if you really dig in and if you're on like PC or something.
Okay.
They have been worthless for years.
I suppose.
There's this bit that I used to do about how bad just go to the reviews for Dear White People, and you don't have any sharp objects or like loaded weapons around when you do, because you will either take yourself out or take other people out because of how bad humanity looks based on the reviews, the Netflix reviews for Dear White People.
Okay.
So, yeah, I say let them go. Why not? Go for it.
Are we going to have no ratings, no percentages whatsoever?
No,
on
I believe
Netflix
that we're
anymore?
talking about reviews, not ratings.
Okay.
So you can still, they kind of got rid of
up,
ratings
thumbs
too.
down?
Yeah, but you can thumbs up, thumbs down, or whatever.
Okay.
And this isn't the only platform that's doing this. This is spreading now. A lot of platforms are just saying screw it and just getting rid of the ratings.
I mean, is it just more of a headache for them to keep track of, or
No, it's probably easier for them. There's nothing to keep track of.
Okay. I mean,
is this the wave breaking and rolling back?
It might be
of expression on the internet, and I'm total just asking neutrally. Don't have a feeling either way. Not trying to say anything either way, but the last few years, if nothing else, have been almost solely defined in societal terms by how much you can say on the internet and how much is too much and all that stuff. This is a show about comic books.
Right.
This is where we are. No, it's also about social issues. Are we starting to see that come back now? Because people will always do whatever they can get away with. Not that they're getting away with something bad, but people will express themselves, blah, 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 whatever. That's why the death threats and all the horrible things that they do, there's no consequences, if you're just screaming into a box that, yeah. But the internet is underwritten by corporations and by organizations, and they sort of regulate it and control it. And so have they finally hit a point where they're like, okay, shut it down, shut it all down. Why are we doing this?
Maybe
thought what
they just
consumers wanted was the freedom to just say and do anything. And even though we don't feel a sense of societal responsibility, the practical aspect of it is it's just become not worth our time to really sit here and maintain this horrible cauldron where people just throw the vilest shit at each other.
Probably, because I have to imagine, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of really positive reviews, but I have to imagine to every positive review, there's like twice as many negatives.
But okay, I'm just talking about in terms of like being good to your fellow man.
Okay.
Then there's the aspect of, have you read positive reviews? Each one of these,
I feel like
each one of these people are not. It's not a Pauline Kael sliding into your DMs here. It's a 5-star, and it's like, this is great. I was real hungry and I had some chili and watched this movie. Good times.
Right.
So that's worthless as well. That's not
Yeah,
gonna
you're
cast
right.
us into the abyss. But yeah, I say get rid of him.
Okay.
Why not?
All right. Make it simpler.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, I agree. Movies. Guess what? Stanley Kubrick
Yeah.
is an enigmatic guy.
I was aware of that.
What if he had another 10, 15 years of life and he made it to this point? Would he be on the Twitters, or would he just block everybody?
I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe he would be tearing up the Twitterverse.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe.
Famously reclusive director, Stanley Kubrick.
Maybe if he had a place to shout into the void, he would.
Yeah.
But, you know, I could see him blocking a lot of people as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he had Twitter, he wouldn't have had to put all those tiles on those streets.
What?
That's just, I don't know, look it up. That's a
Okay.
deep cut. Well, it turns out that he may have explained the ending of 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Really?
You remember the ending of that? Famously obscure. What
yeah.
the heck's going on?
Right.
Space baby? I don't know.
Yeah.
Spoiler. He was being interviewed for a documentary about paranormal experiences, and I think he was talking about The Shining.
Okay.
I don't know. This is the point where he was still talking to people, I guess.
Sure.
Of course, The Shining came out that year, so maybe he was a cross-promotion thing. Well, the raw audio of this exists still, and it was sold on VHS on eBay in like 2016.
Okay.
And somebody combed through this, and they found a clip of Kubrick talking about the end of 2001.
Huh.
And he basically just explains what's going on with Dave in the room and all the things, and then
Okay.
the baby and all that. And I won't give it away here. You can find it online. But yeah, it's so explicit that it has many people calling that it's a fake.
Really?
And I wouldn't know, honestly, this is how reclusive. I don't think I'd know Stanley Kubrick's voice if you just played it to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard it, and it just sounds like a guy talking about 2001.
Okay. Huh. Well, I mean, why would you fake something like that?
Notoriety?
I guess.
Yeah, but you're right. I didn't look deep enough to see if it's like, and we're selling the tapes. You can get your own explanation of 2001 at the,
Right.
with a Space Baby keychain. Yeah, I didn't look that deep, but yeah, I mean, why would somebody fake it?
Yeah. It just seems like, why would somebody go to all that trouble to fake it? So
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's probably him.
I agree as well. What I really want to hear, though, is the taped phone calls between him and the studio while they were shooting Eyes Wide Shut. You need how much more money?
Which is a notoriously
It's been
troubled
2
film.
years, Stanley.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more story before we go, and this is a story that would have, I think that James Kakalios would find to be pretty cool.
Okay.
It looks like scientists have broken their quantum entanglement record at 18 qubits.
What does that mean?
Does
Break down the science for me.
any of that make any sense at all?
No, it just sounds like gobbledygook.
What it means is, and I don't exactly know myself, but is the idea that scientists have discovered or hypothesized, and now they can experimentally test this idea that particles can be entangled, quantumly entangled.
Okay.
Usually particles can only, as far as classical physics says, particles interact with each other, at relativistic speeds. So it's like, if you are in a spaceship and I send radio, Major Tom, are you out there? It'll move at the speed of light.
Okay.
That's the only way that you can get a message from me at that speed.
Okay.
No faster. Otherwise, the universe doesn't make any sense by the sort of classical model. Well, if you have two particles that are entangled, quantumly entangled, if you affect one, the other one should be affected as well.
Okay.
And it should happen over any distance.
Okay.
And this was, they theorized this early in the 20th century when quantum mechanics as a theory, was being developed or debuted. And Einstein didn't like it because it didn't fit sort of his model, and he sort of nicknamed it spooky action at a distance.
Okay.
But here's the thing about quantum physicists. You can't insult them because they'll take anything. They're like, you know how like we call ourselves like, hey, I'm a lib cucktard, and that was supposed to be something that like, yeah, I'm an SJW. That's right.
Right.
That's what quantum physicists are like, because you say God doesn't play dice with the universe, and we're like, yeah, we're dice players. Oh, that was an insult. Sorry. But anyway, yeah. So it's like this spooky action at a distance, and scientists are sort of playing with this. I think mostly at this point, I mean, if this was science fiction, it would be for long-range communication devices.
Okay.
If you've got a block of entangled matter at one end and one at the other end, and you can use it to like send an Ansible transmission to wherever.
Okay.
But this is mostly, I think, for quantum computing.
Okay.
Which, if they get worked out, will revolutionize computing. It'll be, a million times faster than what we've got right now.
Huh.
And sort of that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. This was at the Chinese University of Science and Technology.
Okay. Very cool.
What would you do if you could go anywhere at any time?
Oh, boy. This just kind of reminds me of Draimon, the anime. He has a
set myself up for this one.
Doko Demo Doa. So there's a door that can take him anywhere. Like he opens it in one place and he goes to the place he wants to go.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool.
It's like a TARDIS.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to do that. Like I'd like to be able to go to Japan, just like open the door and then I'm in Kyoto,
Sure.
Or I don't know, travel lots of other places. Like, how about go backpacking through Europe, except you don't have to do the backpacking part. You just travel to the next city.
Sure.
Something like that.
The backpacking is part of the fun, though.
That's true.
Yeah. That's cool.
What would you do?
It's very manga.
I guess it
is.
It's
cool. It depends on how it works, I guess. I'd like put on, well, how does it work? It's a literal door, I guess? This is my scenario. So it's a door with the doorknob, you open it up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'd put on a spacesuit, and I'd put the door in a vacuum chamber.
Okay.
Right? And then I would just set it for other solar systems.
Okay.
And that way you could open it up, and I used to open it up on the void of space. That's fine. And we'd just be light years closer to, whatever star it is.
Sure.
Stars that are closer, I guess I said you can go anywhere. So maybe stars far away. Although you might have to be careful. You couldn't just open it up next to a black hole or something. Like the radiation would destroy you. And that way you could maybe just point your telescope through the open door.
Okay. Sure.
Or point your detectors, gamma ray detectors or whatever it is, and get information that way.
Okay.
Because that's what people, there's so much things to see in the night sky or in our skies.
Right.
They always do that thing where you look at, oh, here's the night sky. See the Big Dipper? See it? Mm-hmm. What about this little, 24 pixels here? And then they'll zoom in and it's an image from Hubble or like a deep field. Mm-hmm. And there's, see all these stars? Those aren't stars, jackass. They're galaxies.
Right.
There are 12,000 galaxies in these 24 pixels alone or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so need a lot of doors. Need a lot of real doors for that.
Yes.
Well, now that we're in the physics mood, let's throw to our interview with Dr. James Kakalios. We interviewed him at our fan table, which was open Saturday and Sunday. And if this is like a long-distance ad or commercial, we're probably going to have a fan table next year on Saturday and Sunday, as has been our tradition for a couple years. So we sat down with him and talked physics and comic books, and here it is. You've been doing panels and things today?
Yep. Yes, I just finished the Ant-Man and the Wasp panel.
Oh.
So I had to rush out
no
after
spoilers.
to see it so that I'd be able to talk about it.
Spoiler-free thumbs up, thumbs down review.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up? Awesome.
Yep. Did
you get a chance to... Was the spoiler panel? Did you guys just talk about the
Yes.
film? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so everyone there, and they announced it. It was like less densely attended because of that. In fact, a couple of people said... They said in the description of the panel, there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah, it will be spoiled.
And because you really can't talk about the movie.
No.
And Just based on the trailers, then otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the science here.
Okay.
Is there any chance at all that you could do what Scott Lang does in the film? Are
we starting now?
Oh yeah, we're going.
Oh, okay, great.
We've been on this whole time.
Okay, I wasn't clear. So actually, I have given this more thought than the average physics professor.
I can imagine.
And so I think that it relates to, in terms of shrinking, and you say there's these PIM particles.
Yeah.
All right. So what does it really mean? If you were to reduce in size, basically you either remove atoms, because we're made of a certain number of atoms. You remove them, but then you have a problem of where do I put them and how do I get them back when I need them?
Right.
When I want to grow back. You either push the atoms closer together, but they're already in direct contact because you're mostly a solid with some liquid.
Sure.
And if you try to push them closer together, the electrons of two different atoms start to repel, and the harder you push, the more they repel.
Sure.
And so that's going to be very messy, and it's not going to get approval by the Comics Code Authority.
Okay.
So the only other way to shrink would be to make the atoms themselves smaller. Now, what is it that sets the size of an atom? It's quantum mechanics basically predicts something called the Bohr radius, which is the average size of an atom or so, or a few times the average size of an atom. And the Bohr radius is a collection of fundamental constants. Planck's constant, the mass of an electron, the charge of an electron, the Greek pi is in there. So the thing about those fundamental constants is that they are constant.
Right.
And they're unchangeable. So presumably the PIM field enables one to vary the magnitude of these constants at will. If you could change, just makes Planck's constant 10 times smaller, the size of an atom would be 100 times smaller.
Okay.
And you would go from 6 feet down to, a few inches or less.
And have the same mass?
So here's the problem. So here's the deal.
Sure.
When you shrink, you either can do it at constant density, in which case you've lost mass because your volume is reduced.
Yeah.
Or you do it at constant mass, in which case you have the same mass that you had at full size, but now compact.
Right.
If you're shrinking at constant mass, if you sit on an ant, that ant's not going to be very happy.
Right.
And so presumably he's shrinking at constant density, but then there's the question of what happens to the mass.
Right.
And this is my other part of my theory. My theory has two parts. Part B is that, so what the PIM field can interact with the Higgs field.
Okay.
The Higgs field is something that was predicted and recently verified is a field that permeates space with which particles interact, and depending on how they interact with the Higgs field, they acquire mass.
Oh, okay, sure.
And so electrons interact very gently with the Higgs field, so they have a small mass. Protons and neutrons interact more strongly with the Higgs field, so they have a larger mass. How they interact, the mass is reflected, say, in their inertia. How hard is it to push them?
Sure.
The quantum of the Higgs field is the Higgs boson. Presumably the quantum of the PIM field is the PIM particle.
Okay.
If part of the suit, part of what Hank Pym has invented, enables changes in coupling between the PIM field and the Higgs field,
sure,
you can change mass at will, which is why in Ant-Man he can ride an ant, but then when he punches someone,
right,
he doesn't punch them with the force of an ant.
Right.
He punches them with the force of a person.
Right.
And so he can change his coupling to the Higgs field at will.
Yeah, maybe it's in the gloves or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my theory.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, in a relative way, in a comic book way.
Well, and the fun thing about using superhero comic books and superhero movies to talk about physics is it gives one an opportunity to talk about some real physics.
Sure.
For example, I just explained the Higgs field and the Higgs boson in the context of Ant-Man.
Right. Yeah, and speaking of gauntlets and bosons and whatnot, we went to your Infinity Gauntlet science panel the other day.
Okay.
You had a great presentation about that.
Thank you.
And loved hearing about Emmy Noether and her work.
Right.
And you talk about these constants, and is that what Thanos is doing with the gems? Are the gems just altering some of those constants of the universe?
Yeah, presumably that's right, that they're enabling, in essence, like cheat codes or hacks to the fundamental physics principles, to the notions of space and time, to the notions of conservation of energy, conservation of electric charge, which gives you the mind because you can control electric currents, you have control of minds. Which, by the way, is also why he's able to, the Mind Stone, if it controls electric currents, is why it also works on the Vision.
Okay.
Who doesn't have normal, brain type thought currents, but electrical currents nonetheless.
Yeah.
So the idea there is that Emmy Noether, a brilliant mathematician from the early part of the 20th century, proved that if the equations of physics have certain symmetries, that implies conservation principles. So if it doesn't matter what time of day you do a measurement, you get the same answer, that time symmetry leads to conservation of energy. If it doesn't depend on whether I do the experiment here or across the room, that spatial invariance leads to conservation of momentum.
Okay.
And so presumably the Infinity Stones are manifestations of these symmetries and these conservation principles.
Interesting.
Or at least 6 of them.
Yeah.
That is, it's not 100%, even within the context of this argument, you have to have various amounts of wiggle room or shading or tap dancing to account for what's seen in the Gauntlet, what's seen in the movies. But once again, I just now talked about Emmy Noether, the most famous mathematician that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, right.
A brilliant woman who had an amazing career despite really fighting against gender and religious persecution throughout her life, and accomplished a great deal. As I said at the end of my talk, nevertheless, she persisted.
Sure. Yeah. I love that idea of those gems being sort of a manifestation of how we can interact with those constants. And of course, it's just cooler to have a name like the Mind Stone or the Reality Stone than the strong nuclear force stone or something like that.
Though, of course, I always thought a great title for a comic book story would be The Gauge Invariance.
The Gauge Invariance.
Which is a thing.
You're a comic fan as well, so I know that you're familiar with the Infinity Gauntlet story. How did you think they did in adapting it to the screen?
Oh, I thought they did a great job. And if anything, actually, I think Thanos seeing himself as the hero trying to save the universe in his twisted and insane way made for a much more interesting and compelling story than simply he was trying to mac on death.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Trying to get a date with death.
Right.
So I thought that if anything, that if Thanos is the first of all, there'll be spoilers. I guess people are okay with spoilers.
It's been out for a while.
Yeah. If Thanos is the protagonist of Infinity War, he is, he's the one who drives the story.
Yeah.
And at the end of the story, he wins.
And a bunch of jerks are trying to stop him from doing the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he does it. And like he says, what did it cost you? He said everything. It cost a tremendous sacrifice because he honestly believed in his twisted way that he was saving the universe.
Yeah.
Halving the people as opposed to just snapping his fingers and doubling the resources.
Well,
which never occurred to anyone.
To his plan, but yeah. Something that I miss from the comics, I think kind of dovetails into what you're talking about. The representations of these forces is the cosmic beings.
Yes.
Is chaos and order and all those things.
So yeah, I mean, what was so amazing about the Infinity Gauntlet was the stakes kept getting raised. The snap occurs, in the very first issue of the 6-issue miniseries. You had that face-off battle between everyone who still survived and Thanos. I think we might still have a scene where it's going to be mano a mano against Captain America.
With Cap?
You know,
Okay.
last man stand.
Sure.
So it was a little bit of that.
A little bit.
And
I still want to see. Mjolnir's gone now, but I still want to see Cap prove himself worthy by lifting a weapon.
I think he's going to lift that Stormbringer.
The Stormbringer
I
axe?
think, and we've seen that Stormbringer can pierce Thanos.
Yeah.
Even when he's possessing all 6 stones.
Yeah.
I think that glove is coming off.
Okay.
Whether Thanos wants it or not.
Okay, sure.
I think this is my theory.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay. Do you see the cosmic beings or cosmic Marvel coming to the cinematic universe?
You know, I mean, who would have thought that we would have gotten a Guardians of the Galaxy movie when we did, even early in the middle of Phase 2?
Yeah.
Right? I remember the posters for it before it came out. They said like, August 15th, whatever the date was, said, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
So, given that they could pull that off, and if Fox, if Disney does buy Fox and does control the Fantastic Four, they then get the rights to Galactus and Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
They get the rights. I could see them introducing cosmic beings in the form of, say, Galactus.
Sure.
They have kind of jokingly introduced the Watchers
Yeah.
in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah.
So
And the Nova Corps.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like beings that are manifestations of, I mean, who knows? We had Dormammu, though not the Dormammu that I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
A guy with a flaming head.
Right.
But we've had Dormammu. Maybe in Doctor Strange 2 we get Infinity.
Yeah, okay, sure. I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's and so once you've got those personal manifestations of abstract concepts, it's, then all bets are off. And whether they could do it, I mean, if anyone can, Marvel will be able to pull it off.
Oh, absolutely. I could totally see like Eternity showing up in Doctor Strange or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's protecting the universe.
Yeah, and I could see Galactus showing up as a big bad for Phase 4 because Thanos presumably is going to be addressed one way or another.
How do you top Thanos at this point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it would have to be something like a cosmic being that is beyond good and evil, that eats the planets the same way that we eat salads.
Sure.
And we don't worry about the bacteria that are on the salads.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or an annihilation wave.
There could be that. There could be that, the negative zone.
Yeah.
That could probably be explained, like where the Fantastic Four have been.
Yeah, exactly.
They we're back. Any mail while I was gone?
Right. Where's Willie Lumpkin? Yeah.
Tell him to stop wiggling his ears and get over here.
How long have you been coming to CONvergence?
20 years.
20 years? Wow.
I missed 2 of them for personal family reasons.
Sure.
But I came to the very first one.
Okay.
So
Amazing.
I've been 18 years.
We talked
18 times. But
18 times.
But
we talked to a fan who had also been coming for very long, and he had a pouch, and he'd kept all of his badges from every year. And it was like geological strata. He showed us going back what the badges looked like.
So I have it, but it's in my briefcase at my hotel room. But I have the badges from the other 2 times when I was guest of honor.
Okay.
And they had made up personalized badges.
Oh, okay.
And in one of them, Chris Jones drew me as Mr. Fantastic.
Okay.
So instead of a 4, it had a K.
Sure.
And I had a word balloon that said, the K stands for action. And the second time I was a guest of honor, he drew me as Dr. Doom taking off the mask. And there was my face.
It was you.
Which was so horribly scarred and so hideous. Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us today. Last time you were on the show, we talked about your book, The Physics of Superheroes.
Yes.
Do you have any other books or anything else you're working on?
I do. So after Physics of Superheroes, I wrote a book, The Amazing Story of Quantum Mechanics.
Okay.
Which addresses the question, here we are in the 21st century. Our science fiction pulps and comic books promised us that we'd have jetpacks and flying cars, and what we got instead were cell phones and laptop computers.
Right.
And in 1926, Hugo Gernsback starts publishing Amazing Stories, the first science fiction pulp magazine. Also publishing in that winter of 1926 was Erwin Schrödinger, publishing the Schrödinger equation.
Okay,
sure. So modern quantum mechanics begins within months of the first science fiction pulp magazine.
Yeah.
So you have these two visions of the future, one that's going to lead to death rays and one that leads to the laser.
Sure.
And so I talk about how the science fiction pulps thought that we'd have a revolution in energy, which is really what you need if you're going to have a jetpack or a flying car.
Yeah.
We can have jetpacks, but we can only carry so much fuel on our back that you can only fly for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas what we got instead was a revolution in information. And the information revolution was made possible by semiconductor and solid-state physics, which in turn was made possible by quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
So I talk about how quantum mechanics... I don't talk about the theory. I don't talk about the philosophy. I talk about how useful it is and how quantum mechanics leads to transistors and magnetic hard drives and MRIs.
Right.
My most recent book, which came out in paperback a few months ago, is called The Physics of Everyday Things, The Extraordinary Science of an Ordinary Day. And it follows you throughout a busy day.
Sure.
You wake up and you turn off the smartphone, the alarm in your smartphone, and then I zoosh in and tell you how the physics of how that works.
Okay.
And then you toast a bagel for breakfast, and I tell you how your toaster works.
Sure.
And there's some quantum mechanics, thermodynamics, electricity, and magnetism, all just to make a piece of toast.
Right.
You drive into work. You have a hybrid automobile. You have an easy pass on the expressway. You get your destination on a GPS. I talk about how that works. You go to the doctor. You get a checkup. You have a digital thermometer. He does a sonogram. I tell how that works. You go to the airport. You go through TSA security. You put your arms. You go in that phone booth and you put your arms over your head.
Right.
You say, "I surrender."
Right.
I tell you how that works. You fly. You have some noise canceling headphones. You look at your tablet. I talk about the plane. You give a business presentation. You have a microphone, a laser pointer, the LCD projector. And then at the very end of the day, you go to your hotel. You go down the hallway. The motion sensors turn on the lights. You go to your room. You open the door by just putting your key card against the door.
Right.
It goes, boop.
Right.
I talk about how that
It's
works.
all physics.
The flat screen TV and the remote control.
Sure.
And then you go off to sleep thinking, where's my flying car?
Yeah, right.
Right? You're surrounded by this amazing technology, and throughout your day, it follows you. I'm just like popping in and say, the motion sensor is actually detecting the infrared radiation that you give off.
Sure, right.
And
right.
talking about how those work.
Did you ever read the William Gibson short story, The Gernsback Continuum?
No, I haven't.
It's in his collection, Burning Chrome, and it's about this author who's doing a photo. He's a photojournalist. He's doing a piece or a book on old-style 50s gas stations. Remember the old chrome?
Sure.
Look like they're in the future?
Yeah.
And as he
right.
takes more and more pictures of these things, he starts to have these visions that come out of nowhere when he's driving on the road at night of like Zeppelin blimps and mooring towers and metropolis cities. And he thinks that he's slipping into another reality where we got that Gernsback amazing stories sort of thing, and he's got to try to get out of it somehow. It's a very interesting
cool.
story.
I'll look that up.
Yeah.
You can always tell that you're not in the future predicted by the science fiction pulps by the absence of Zeppelins in the skyline.
Yeah, and the mooring masts and everything. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
You at Kakalios.com.
Okay.
You can find information about my books. I have a blog that I irregularly post to. My theory, which I think is going to be wrong, of what happens in Avengers 4.
Okay.
And also my prediction of the title, which I know is certainly going to be wrong. Avengers, with half of humanity gone, hunting for an apartment is a breeze. So Thanks, Thanos. I don't think that's right.
The real estate war is over.
That's right. You're in the real estate war?
Right. Not anymore.
And so, Kakalios.com, and also I'm on Twitter at Jim Kakalios.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Screw the door. What would you do with an infinity gauntlet?
Jeez. I don't think I'd snap my fingers and make half the world disappear. I'd probably make sure there's food for the rest of the world, or renewable energy or something like that.
Everybody says that like they're so smart. If you're talking about the universe, if we're working on a universal scale, then first of all, the human intellect is not prepared to work on that scale in the first place. But perhaps that's what the power in the mind gem or the space reality stone can help you increase your consciousness. That's actually one of the conflicts in the book, is that sure, Thanos is like super strong and like super smart and cool and all, but if you give him 6 stones that give him power over all of reality, maybe you can't process that information, and that's the slight advantage or disadvantage that he has that the heroes can try to exploit. Okay, so you make a bunch of food. Now, how do you get the food to all the places? With the gauntlet?
Can
you snap your fingers and just put a Happy Meal on every single table, on every planet, in every galaxy in the universe?
I would love to be able to do that. But maybe I also increase transportation. So
there's a lot of snaps.
Yeah.
This is like a real groovy song here.
I suppose you're right, because one thing leads to another.
Yeah. But he solved it real quick.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he
negatively.
I mean, he didn't, because of course we have the same problem. If you're working on a universal time scale, at some point there will be more people. If it's perfectly balanced, the first birth at General Hospital, it's not balanced anymore.
You're right.
Or what about
the first death?
Yeah, or what about other planets where so if there are, and this is something, scale is a crazy thing too, because if he's literally talking about the universe, then he's talking about infinity. I know it's the Infinity Gauntlet, but he's talking about, even if it's not actual infinity minus 1, galaxies, planets, and everything else. So that means that on some planet, his snap, it's very unlikely, but in an infinite universe, it's possible. His snap killed all the women on that planet.
Oh, you're right.
And that's called Planet Reddit. No. So
Red pill.
Now there is just men, and if they can't clone them up some women, they all die.
Right.
So you didn't help that planet. You disadvantaged that planet. You disenfranchised that planet. Even if it was 10% of the women were left compared to the men, it's going to be real tough. This is not a good solution.
No, it's not. I don't think he thought this through.
No. Now, here's a segment with me deriding people for telling them me it was not a good solution. I talked to some of the people, the attendees of the Infinity War panel at CONvergence, in a segment I call Geek on the Street, and here's what they had to say. It was pretty rude, but I'm going to interrupt your text. Was Thanos right?
No.
Why?
Well, that's a long. That requires a long answer.
Give me the short version.
He's just, even if it was necessary, he's just going to have to do it again when the population bounces back.
That could take forever, though.
Didn't take forever to get there the first time.
It's a good point. Let's say heads. If you heads, you live. Tails, you die. You picked the right thing.
Ah, awesome.
You're alive.
Well, that's.
You're overjoyed.
We've seen the movie. We know that's not true.
It's not a great universe to live in. Excuse me. Can I ask you a question? Was Thanos right?
A hard question to answer, but overall, I think motives pretty solid. But the way he went out and around it, definitely evil. Not great.
Interesting philosophical question. Does doing the wrong thing for the right reasons mean you're a good person?
It depends on who you'd ask. Personally, I definitely don't think so, but it really depends on how you'd look at lawful evil versus neutral evil versus good evil.
You're going Gygax on me here. I love this. All right, let's see how you do. Tails, I'm sorry Thanos has killed you.
Drat.
Doesn't change your opinion?
Well, I'm dead, so there's not too much I can...
That's very practical. Hey, was Thanos right?
No.
Why?
Honestly, don't know.
I'm not gonna even wait here. Heads, you live, so you get to decide.
All right. He's right.
Okay. Might makes right. Excuse me, sir. Yes. Was Thanos right?
Right is relative. But he had the right idea. He just went about it in the wrong way, and there were probably better options given the powers that he had.
It's nuanced.
Yes.
A coin flip is not. You live.
Yay.
Sir, I have to ask you, was Thanos right?
I would say in a way, yeah.
In a way. Elaborate.
Well, I kind of agree with the guy behind me. He had the right idea, but there are different ways that he could have gotten it.
Yeah, our universe has problems. It was a drastic solution, though.
Like, for example, increasing the size of the universe could be a possible ability.
That's true. All right, well, now we're going to put it to the test. I'm going to flip a coin. If you get heads, you live. Tails, sorry, you fade away. You get to live. So now that you're alive in this universe, would you be a counselor to Thanos? Maybe give him some of your good ideas.
Sure.
Okay, all right, I'll put in a good word for you. Thanks. Hi there. Was Thanos right?
In a way, kind of, but... So, he had good intentions, but he could have just as easily created double the amount of things, or what he could have done. He did not take into account that the population will eventually just regrow and reach that same amount again. So, he should have taken into account max population density.
He seemed to be really intent on doing exactly what he did, snapping his fingers, wiping out half the universe. Why do you think that is?
Because he's the Mad Titan.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he's kind of insane.
Yeah, he's the Mad Titan, exactly. Heads or tails? Heads you live, tails you die. I guess you don't get to really make any more decisions because you're going to fade away.
Okay.
Any last words?
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Perfect. Hi, guys. Both of you together at the same time, was Thanos right?
No.
Okay, both say no. Why? You first.
I mean, he doesn't have any hair.
Wow, bald shaming. And you?
Because he was opposed to Doctor Strange in the film, and Doctor Strange is never wrong.
Okay, I can see that. All right. That's a better. All right, we're going to go with that. Let's see. You're going to go together, guys. Sorry. Heads you live, tails you die. Sorry, you both fade away. Do you think Doctor Strange can save you?
Well, one way to find out.
There is literally only one way out of 14 million ways.
If you're listening, just pretend that I'm clinging to Aaron right now and begging him to let me stay. I don't want to go.
You have to cling to Steven. He's going to help you. He's going to save you. Excuse me, sir. Can I interrupt you for a second? Was Thanos right?
Yes.
Yes. Please explain why.
Because he used to be left-handed and now he's right-handed.
All right. Okay. I hope we get tails on this one. Fortunately, you got heads. You get to live. Okay. Could Thanos make everyone left-handed instead of right-handed?
No.
No. The power of the Infinity Gauntlet couldn't do that.
No, the Doctor Strange would get all twitchy and the cape would be all,
I can see that. Okay. All right. Thank you. Excuse me, ma'am. Was Thanos right?
No.
No. Why?
Because he doesn't have the right to kill half of the population of the universe.
I'm not on your side, but doesn't with great power come great power? That's how that goes, right?
No.
All right, well, let's find out your destiny here. I'm going to flip a coin. If it's heads, you live. If it's tails, you fade away. You already died. You're going to opt out?
On a website. I was killed for the good of the universe, apparently.
That's more official than this, for sure, so thanks. Sir, excuse me, was Thanos right?
I think yes, he was.
Explain why you think that.
I think he was right because he had given his own planet Titan, as well as Earth, and who knows how many others, the chance to actually improve and evolve and change their ways, but they did not, so he kind of assumed absolute power and did it for him.
It's like extreme urban renewal, really.
Kind of, yeah.
All right, well, let's put that to the test. I'm going to flip this coin. If it's heads, you live. If it's tails, you fade away. It's tails. What are your last words?
I was wrong.
I was wrong. Ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I ask you a very important question? Was Thanos right?
No.
Explain why.
Because there's so many other options. He could have just created more food and housing, or maybe taught people about birth control. You don't have to kill half the population.
Okay, all right. I've heard that a lot, that it's all about creating more resources. Where do these resources come from?
He could just create them. He has the Infinity Gauntlet.
Can the gauntlet do that, create something from nothing, or is it rearranging matter and energy?
I actually don't know. I should pay more attention in that physics of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Or don't we live in a... Yeah, exactly. Don't we live in a closed system?
Well, maybe he could take things from other dimensions.
Or maybe turn empty planets into more food or something like that.
There you go. There are other options, is all I'm saying.
Okay, there's always options. Well, here's your options. Tails, you live. Heads, you live. Tails, you die. Not going to change it up now. Heads.
Yay.
So now you can continue. Would you counsel Thanos to do the things that you're suggesting?
After I lived already, or?
Yes.
Well, it's too late because he ruined the gauntlet.
Well, we're screwed. Thank you. I didn't mean to shock anybody, but it was a little sobering.
Was it?
When the argument is intellectual, and they're like, "Well, I think that Thanos should have considered the real ramifications of a Malthusian catastrophe, or whatever it is," and then I hit the button and I go, "You're dead now," and they're like, "Oh, oh, this plan sucks."
Did you get any responses that were surprising to you?
Yes and no. There were more people. I just thought, it was like the Cap and the Iron Man thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the good guy here?
Right.
Tony Stark's like, well, it's a very complicated sort of thing, and we need to register. We need to make sure that we're putting ourselves in check and control. And the other guy's like, I punch Hitler. So, I don't know if you know
Right.
which side is the good side.
End of story. I punch Hitler.
Yeah, I fought the Nazis and also super soldier Hitler with no skin.
Right.
Got him too. So yeah, I'm the good guy. So I thought everybody would say, "Oh, Thanos is wrong," but there's a couple people that are like, "No, I don't think he's. Even if his method was wrong, he's onto something."
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a little frightening.
Well, honestly, over the weekend, and many people on the panel said this, and when the movie was brought up in other places, this was talked about how him trying to impress a girl, like him being a big purple incel, was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was dumb, but I do think that what they gave him has more depth as a motivation.
Okay.
Or maybe more seeming depth.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that, honestly, it just feels to me like, what's hot right now? What's a problem right now?
Right.
And it's fun to cast our real-life problems, put a cape and a mask on the problems we have and sort of deal with them in a fantastical setting.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not really proposing any solution.
No.
Mm-hmm. And insofar as we know, this wasn't like a problem. It's a problem because he says it's a problem. It's not like in the upcoming 17, 18 films in the Marvel Universe, it'd be like, well, we saved the galaxy again, guys. Let's go.
Right.
And as they fly off, Glenn Close is like, but there's too many people on this planet. Like, this has never been a problem or mentioned by anybody.
No.
Except this guy has been going around and just halving planets.
His entire life.
Yeah. And he thinks it's his problem. And there is no... For his motivation being bullshit, he is a surprisingly sympathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
But his motivation is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like there was even a thing where I know Tony's been working on clean energy or something. It's a problem that we know that we have.
Right.
But it's not like he's jogging in Central Park and telling Pepper about his dream and they keep running into people because there's too many people.
Right.
And Charlton Heston is tying on his kerchief and he's getting ready to start yelling.
Right.
About Soylent.
So does Thanos in the movie, is it infinity? Is it galaxies and universes, or is it just Earth that he affects with his snap?
I think it's everybody.
It's everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's just like everybody on Earth then, like a tree that's not from Earth.
Right. Right.
I
Okay. Good point.
think that to sell the emotional impact, that's why they saved the beeper scene for the end credits, I think. Because they could have cut to Peter Serafinovitz disappearing in Glenn Close's arms or something like that.
Right.
Actually, they're all dead, aren't they? He ravaged Xandar on his way to
yeah,
to
that's
Earth.
true.
But they could have cut to somewhere else, and we'd see it. I think we're supposed to assume that it's everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Now,
all right.
Here's my question:
mm-hmm.
If it's indiscriminate, he's already gone to the Xanoberi planet and killed half of them. do they get halved again? Or are there planets that get skipped? Did the planets that he's already gone to get skipped?
Because he's already covered them with
Yes.
like a check mark or a star.
Right, yeah. And we don't touch that one twice. We already been there.
I don't know. I kind of think they get halved again, as depressing as that is.
Yeah, probably.
I
The whole
don't
thing
think,
is really dumb.
Yeah, I don't think anybody gets excluded.
It fades away or falls apart when you think about it at all. And I think him trying to impress a girl is something we can hang something on. It's just
That's
my
true.
opinion. But that would have been kind of dumb.
Yeah.
You just introduced a lady who's literally deaf.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'd kill half the universe for Kate Blanchett. But yeah, anyway, one last thing. I heard that something that came up on the panel that I was pretty sure would, that I don't think we got a satisfying answer to, was he eligible, for the snap?
Oh.
So all he says is he's going to snap his fingers and he's
Yep.
going to eliminate half the universe.
Mhm.
He doesn't say it's random, but I think we just assume he actually at one point in the movie he says pure chance or something like that. And so is he up for it? We already know that he is in contact with the producers at Marvel Disney because he snapped the right people out of the Avengers because of future movie concerns.
Right.
But otherwise, it's just totally random, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But could he have been included?
I
feel like the consensus at the panel was, yeah, he would have taken it.
I feel like that
But
was
I don't
their
think-
consensus, but at the same time, I don't think he really would include himself
No, why not?
because I think he thinks he's above it all.
Yeah, I agree.
And
That's what megalomania means.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, whether consciously or unconsciously, he's still a tyrant.
Right.
Anybody with the balls to say, I know how to fix the universe, kill
Right.
half of it, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
That's not a person who I think consciously or unconsciously, definitely not unconsciously, puts himself on that list.
No, I don't think so.
Plus, he can't go be farmer Thanos at the end.
I know, right?
Whatever's going on there. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So anyway, that was our talk with James Kakalios. I always enjoy talking to him, and I definitely want to have him on again in the future. Well, if you like both comic books and physics, I think his books might be a good fit for you. You can check out his book, The Physics of Superheroes, which is a look at the physics of the world of superheroes. Pretty self-explanatory. His most recent book is called The Physics of Everyday Things, and that is available on Amazon and as an ebook and all the places you can get that. So go check that out. They're both very good books. I would recommend that you click on the links in our show notes, in our description, because it will take you directly to Amazon where you can buy them. And when you buy them by clicking through our site at justenoughtrope.com, a little bit of that purchase goes back to us.
That's right.
At no extra cost to you. And it helps keep the lights on and keeps me in cough drops. And that's how we like to do it. And if you've already got the book and you don't need it right now, you can always go to patreon.com/justenoughtrope and chip in $1 that way. Chuck in $1 to keep the show
like it.
going. Yeah. Anyway, fun time. Thanks again to James for talking with us. And I think that's it for this show. Feels good?
Yeah.
Feels good.
Do we want to talk about the future of CONvergence at all?
Yeah. I guess.
You guess?
Is there anybody who is touched or untouched by the situation this year?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who are feeling bittersweet about this year ending because it was last year at the DoubleTree in Bloomington. But it's probably about time that the con moves because we've honestly outgrown that space. So,
Are you Miss Brightside?
I'm trying to be.
And then like Negative Ned is going to come peeling in on his Harley and say that's a very positive spin that you put on it there.
Well, I'm trying to be positive about it.
I don't really know I'm not really I'm not on ConCom or whatever. Like I'm not like really in the fabric of the thing, but I know people that are, and I know about the drama that's been going on. And so, I wonder about just, hey, I'm going to wear my costumes and go check some stuff out. Like if those, like the rank and file general attendees, like know what's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer.
It doesn't
to
really
that
matter
either.
I guess it doesn't really matter. But it is best that we move.
Yeah, I think so.
But
and
geez,
I know.
Jeez, I mean, can we just say what pricks?
I know.
What the hell?
The management of the hotel were kind of jerks this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think they needed to be, and I think they wanted us gone.
Yeah, well,
so
yeah,
they made that perfectly clear.
I too hate money. It's the worst.
I know the con.
How you going to pay
them
for
a
your
lot of money.
mini fridges and your microwaves now?
I know,
assholes.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a grudge keeper and I'm not a bitter person, but jeez,
I know
it's gonna be a long time before I stay in a DoubleTree.
I know, right? Even though they have those chocolate chip cookies.
Which ones?
They have chocolate chip cookies that they give you for staying in their rooms.
Well, because they're the only producer of chocolate chip cookies on Earth, it's going to be really tough for me to not stay in a DoubleTree or a Hilton.
All
but
right.
It's actually going to be tough in general because it's like 51% of hotels are Hiltons.
It's true.
Yeah. So anyway, man, what the hell?
I know.
But you know what? We stayed together anyway.
Yes.
And that is the strength of the community of CONvergence. And also, I mean, we'd be remiss to not just throw it to the CONcom, all the volunteers that worked on it, the organizations and the workers and the machinery behind the con that kept it going. Nevertheless, it persisted.
They worked really hard.
Yes.
And they made it work for this year.
This thing happened. Anyway.
Next year.
And I didn't have any fun.
I know.
But that wasn't their fault.
No,
it was a beautiful show.
Next year, the theme is the next celebration.
Right.
And it's about reboots and reimaginings in science fiction.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
we're going to be at the Hyatt Regency downtown.
Right.
Yeah.
Which works out for us.
Yeah.
A couple blocks away.
Right. Exactly.
So I want to rent out the spare room.
Okay.
What's the limit? 6, do you think? 6 nerds just packed in chock-a-block.
Wow. I guess so.
Throw your luggage in the storage room. There you go. And you can change into your costume in the hall.
That's true.
No, it's really amazing. And my thanks and kudos go to the con staff that, like Thor in Ragnarok, when he's going, and he's just holding that thing together.
Yep.
He's just holding it together so he can get this done and forge this hammer.
Mm-hmm.
They metaphorically forged the hammer.
Right.
So, yeah, they were all worked out.
Yeah.
And honestly, as far as the next generation goes, and when did they pick that?
Yeah, I know.
I'd like to know what got erased before that was written in.
I know, right?
The year after next, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll definitely have a great reimagining, a rebirth, if you will, to look forward to.
Yeah,
almost
I think
probably
so.
called it probably worked on Phoenix,
right?
Harry Potter. Is it 2 Harry Potter? We did Magic a couple years ago. Oh, what the hell? Just call it the next generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it, too.
Our audience can look forward to more interviews with guests from CONvergence of 2018, like who?
Like Melissa F. Olson, Paul Cornell, Victor Raymond.
You have to Okay, that's a pretty good tease.
Okay.
Some guests of honor.
Yeah, some guests of honor, for sure.
And some guests of dishonor. No, just... That doesn't apply to anybody.
No, it doesn't.
No. We'll have more interviews coming up as we release more shows in this month, usually coming out Sunday night. That's when our shows come out.
Mm-hmm.
So hang on and listen to those. You can also find us on Just Enough Trope on Facebook and Twitter. And we might have got a shout or two up on Instagram, but again, pretty busy. Not a lot of fun. Busy.
Yeah.
But you can find us on all those social medias at Just Enough Trope. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and on Google Play Podcasts and all the normal places that you would normally find a podcast show thing. Point your podcaster in that direction. On the subject of podcasters, or podcatchers, my Zune is shut.
You're kidding.
Well, the hardware works. The software is dead.
Oh, no.
Longtime listeners will know that I am a Zune aficionado, and I literally have 3 of them. The software that you use to plug it in needs an update, but the update server is dead because Microsoft does not update it anymore.
Oh, my gosh.
And so it just keeps calling out and doesn't get anything, freezes up, doesn't even work as a music player or a podcatcher anymore. So now here I go into the next generation of finding a new podcatching software.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know. If you have a good podcatcher, stop by Just Enough Trope on Facebook, Twitter, tweet or message us and let us know what you use, because I'm in the market.
Okay.
And also, if you're looking to buy a gently used Zune, I can hook you up there.
Peter Quills out there.
On social media as well. All right, careful. But anyway, when you find us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or the other platforms, if you give us a rating, we would appreciate it, because that's how we move up in the ranks. The higher, the better, because that's how the algorithm works.
Right.
We've learned about this.
Yes.
From
Kimmy Schmidt.
Kimmy Schmidt?
Yeah.
Al Gore invented this rhythm.
Yeah, because he invented the internet.
It's the Al Gore rhythm.
That's right.
And that's how the software knows. Okay, I'm breaking down. Remember I told you that you would have to carry
that's
carry
how
this,
the software
take this burden
knows
for me.
That we're doing a good job.
But I can carry you. The sound of you falling over trying to pick me up.
Oh, come on.
We'd be terrible hobbits.
Yeah.
But anyway, please give us a rating, because that's how they know we're doing a good job. And I'd say give us 5 stones that control the constants of the universe, which sounds dangerous.
Yes.
You probably need all 6.
Probably do.
Is one of them a fake?
I don't think so.
That's
but
what
like,
they do that in one of the comics, and I've heard fan theories that that's what they're going to do in the movie as well.
Is one of them fake?
That's
like
why
the
it breaks or
time
something.
stone is fake or
yeah,
something?
like Strange did something with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
I saw, I don't know, it was on Discovery or something like that. They were talking about these like 20 or 25 kind of constants in physics, in astrophysics.
Okay.
That make, if one was slightly different, the universe would be totally screwed up.
Okay.
And they represented it as a guy in a sort of like a spaceship or something like that, looking at the universe, and he had a bunch of sliders, like a mixer, like a sound panel.
Okay, sure.
And then he'd like, let's change the gravitational constant. It's like, now stars can't form, and everything's all messed up.
Okay.
Or, let's change the nuclear forces, to be stronger or weaker.
Oh my goodness.
I kind of want to do that. If I had the Infinity Gauntlet, that's what it would be.
Okay.
I wouldn't kill half the population, but you would stand there and like I would adjust the horizontal and the vertical, like the outer limits.
Oh my goodness.
You'd look around you and see, he's playing with the hue now. Everybody's purple. Ooh, Thanos would like that.
Purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's too much power. No one should have this power. So instead, give us 5 stars. We'd
Sounds
appreciate that. And that's it. Like we said, we'll be back later in this month with more interviews and more talk about CVG 2018, and looking forward to 2019.
That's right.
And until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.